This is the story of the Howling Shadows of St. Louis. The clock struck midnight as Derek Thompson began his nightly rounds, a retired cop turned night security guard. Derek had seen his fair share of strange things in downtown St. Louis, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to experience. As he walked past the old abandoned warehouse on 5th Street, he heard a low growl. He froze, his flashlight beam darting around the dark alley. The growl came again, deeper this time, sending a chill down his spine. Derek's hand instinctively went to the baton on his belt. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice steady but his heart racing. From the shadows emerged a massive figure. At first, Derek thought it was a large dog, but as it stepped into the light, he realized it was something far more sinister. The creature stood on 2 legs, its body covered in thick, matted fur. Its eyes glowed a sickly yellow, and its snout was twisted into a snarl, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Derek's breath caught in his throat. The creature let out a bone-chilling howl before disappearing into the darkness. Derek stood there, paralyzed, until the sound of a passing car snapped him back to reality. He quickly finished his rounds and returned to the security office, convincing himself it was just a trick of the light. Night 2. The Stalking. The next night, Derek was on edge. He kept his flashlight trained on every shadow, his baton gripped tightly in his hand. As he approached the warehouse, he heard the growl again, louder this time. He spun around, shining his light into the alley, but there was nothing there. Then he felt it, a presence behind him. He turned slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. The creature was there, closer than before. Its eyes locked onto his, and Derek could see the intelligence in them. This was no ordinary animal. The dogman tilted its head as if studying him, before letting out another howl that echoed through the empty streets. Derek took a step back and the creature lunged forward, stopping just short of him. It was toying with him. Derek ran back to the security office, his mind racing. He couldn't explain what he had seen, but he knew one thing. This creature was real, and it was hunting him. Night 3. The Chase. By the 3rd night, Derek was prepared. He had brought a flashlight with a strobe feature, hoping to disorient the creature if it appeared again. As he made his rounds, he kept his eyes peeled, his senses on high alert. He didn't have to wait long. The growl came again, this time from above. Derek looked up to see the dogman perched on the roof of the warehouse, its eyes glowing in the darkness. It leaped down, landing just a few feet in front of him. Derek activated the strobe light, shining it directly into the creature's eyes. It let out a pained howl and stumbled back, giving Derek just enough time to run. He sprinted down the street, the sound of the creature's claws scraping against the pavement close behind. He ducked into an alley, pressing himself against the wall as the dogman passed by. He could hear its heavy breathing, smelled the stench of its fur. It stopped, sniffing the air before letting out a frustrated growl and disappearing into the night. Derek waited until he was sure it was gone before making his way back to the security office. He knew he couldn't keep running. Tomorrow night, he would have to face the creature head-on. Night 4. The Final Confrontation. The 4th night was different. The streets were eerily quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Derek had come prepared. He had a taser, a can of pepper spray, and a plan. He would lure the creature into the warehouse, where he could trap it and call for backup. As he approached the warehouse, he heard the growl, but this time it was different. Softer, almost mournful. Derek hesitated, but he knew he had to see this through. He opened the warehouse door and stepped inside, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The creature was there, waiting for him. But it wasn't snarling or lunging. It was sitting on the ground, its head bowed. Derek shone his light on it, and for the first time he saw the creature clearly. It was massive, with muscles rippling beneath its fur, but its eyes were filled with sadness. "What are you?" Derek whispered, more to himself than to the creature. The dog man looked up, its eyes meeting his, and then, in a voice that was both guttural and human, it spoke. "I was like you. Once." Derek's blood ran cold. The creature stood, its form shifting and contorting until it was no longer a dog man, but a man. A man Derek recognized. It was his old partner, Jack, who had disappeared years ago during the case they were working on. "Jack," Derek stammered, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. Jack nodded, his eyes filled with pain. "I was cursed, Derek, by the people we were investigating. They turned me into this monster." Derek's heart ached for his friend. Jack had been more than just a partner. He had been like a brother. They had joined the force together, fresh out of the academy, and had been inseparable ever since. They had shared countless late-night stakeouts, celebrated solved cases with beers at their favorite dive bar, and even stood by each other through personal hardships. Jack had been the one to help Derek through the darkest days after his divorce, and Derek had done the same when Jack lost his father. "We'll fix this, Jack. We'll find a way to break the curse," Derek said, his voice trembling with emotion. But Jack shook his head. "It's too late for me. But you need to know the truth. The people who did this to me, they're still out there, and they're coming for you." Derek's mind flashed back to the case that had torn them apart. It had started as a routine investigation into a drug cartel operating out of St. Louis. But as they dug deeper, they discovered something far more sinister. The cartel wasn't just trafficking drugs. They were involved in something darker, something ancient. They practiced dark magic, using rituals to protect their operations and punish their enemies. Jack had been the one to uncover the truth. He had found evidence of their rituals, altars adorned with animal bones, jars filled with strange substances, and cryptic symbols painted on the walls of their hideouts. He had even managed to intercept a shipment of artifacts, carved wooden figures, dried herbs, and a book bound in human skin. But the cartel had found out. One night, during a raid on one of their warehouses, Jack had been separated from the rest of the team. Derek had heard him scream over the radio, but by the time he reached him, it was too late. Jack was gone, and the warehouse was empty, except for the lingering smell of incense and the sound of faint chanting echoing in the distance. "They cursed me, Derek," Jack said, his voice breaking. "They used their rituals to turn me into this thing. I've been trapped wandering the streets, unable to die, unable to live. And now they're coming for you. They know you're still looking for answers." Derek's fists clenched. "I'll make them pay, Jack. I'll find a way to break the curse and stop them." Jack shook his head again, his expression grim. "You don't understand. They're not just criminals. They're powerful. They have connections everywhere. And they've already marked you. That's why I've been trying to scare you away, to keep you out of their reach. But it's too late now." Before Derek could respond, Jack let out a final, mournful howl and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Derek alone in the warehouse. Derek stood there, his mind reeling. He had come face to face with a monster, only to discover it was his oldest friend. And now, he knew the real monsters were still out there, waiting in the shadows. As he left the warehouse, Derek made a silent vow. He would find the people responsible for Jack's curse, and he would make them pay. The howling shadows of St. Louis had claimed his friend, but they wouldn't claim him, not without a fight.